Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. As I sit here reminiscing about my elementary school days, a flood of memories rushes back, painting vivid images of the struggles and challenges that colored those formative years. One particular story stands out, etched into the corridors of my mind like a cautionary tale, the tale of Dee and her formidable mother, E.M. Ia was a presence in my kindergarten class, her unique quirks and tendencies setting her apart from the rest. It was evident, even at that tender age, that she navigated the world through a different lens, one shaped by the complexities of autism. Yet her innocence and gentle spirit shone through, offering glimpses of the beautiful soul within. But alongside Di stood her mother, E.M., a force to be reckoned with. With her blonde hair and imposing stature, she cast a shadow that loomed large over her daughter's world. From the very beginning, it was clear that E.M. harbored expectations that bordered on the unreasonable, fueled by a belief that the world owed her daughter acceptance and friendship on her terms. I recall one incident with startling clarity, a playdate orchestrated by mutual friends that unwittingly became a battleground for E.M.'s insecurities. As laughter echoed through the room and childhood joy filled the air, my mother captured moments of camaraderie on camera, unaware of the storm brewing on the horizon. E.M.'s fury knew no bounds when those innocent snapshots found their way onto social media, a glaring reminder of the exclusion she felt her daughter endured. She stormed to the doorstep of our mutual friend, a whirlwind of indignation and entitlement. Her words cut through the air like shards of glass, accusing them of orchestrating a playdate from which they were deliberately excluded. In her eyes, it was a grievous injustice, a betrayal of her daughter's right to companionship. But it was not the only instance where E.M.'s presence cast a pall over our playground adventures. I remember vividly the day she approached me and my first-grade friend with an imperious demand, insisting that we abandon our game and join Dee at the slides. We were in the midst of a heated match of tetherball, our laughter and shouts filling the air with the music of childhood. Yet, E.M. saw fit to intervene, her voice dripping with authority as she declared that ball time's over. Dee, influenced by her mother's words, echoed the sentiment, a puppet dancing to the tune of E.M.'s expectations. In her eyes, our refusal to comply was a mark of selfishness, a betrayal of the bond she believed her daughter deserved. But even as E.M.'s tirades echoed through the schoolyard, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for Dee. Caught in the crossfire of her mother's ambitions and the complexities of her own condition, she struggled to find her place in a world that often seemed unkind and unforgiving. I often wonder what became of Dee, whether time and distance offered her the solace and acceptance she so desperately sought. I hope she found her tribe, a group of kindred spirits who embraced her for who she was, quirks and all. And as for E.M., I can't help but harbor a flicker of hope that perhaps with time and reflection, she too found the empathy and understanding that had eluded her for so long. For in the end, it is not entitlement or force that forges true connections, but rather the gentle threads of empathy and acceptance that bind us all together in this journey called life. I, 23 female, have been in a long-distance relationship with my boyfriend, 25 male, for 4 years. He is my best friend, and I truly love him. I know that by even asking this, I probably already know my answer, but I'm having a tough time accepting it. Should I end my relationship or continue it and allow my boyfriend to move to my state with his family? He is planning on moving here in April with his parents, and I don't have much time left to make a decision. I'm feeling lots of doubt despite my feelings for him. I am concerned about his mom, 49 female. I have so many long stories I could share, but I really will try to keep it short. I have noticed so many red flags, but because we are in a long-distance relationship, I can forgive them once I get home and am away from her. Since I only visit for a week about every other month, I feel I do not even know half of what is to come in the future if I marry into this family. For the short periods of time that I have been in person with his family, I always have several experiences that cause me to feel doubt. But everything else about him is so amazing to me that I can forgive them once I am home. Soon, that will not be the case if they move to my state. He originally was going to move here on his own, but without speaking to me about it, planned for his family to come as well. This did not initially upset me so much at first because I assumed his family would probably follow eventually. He is an only child. Up until now, I had not thought a lot about what it would be like for them to be here too. I only imagined him. I get along with his mom because I am a meek person. She is extremely hot-headed, pushy, and overbearing. I do not enjoy being around her, and she makes me feel exhausted. There have been many things she has said to me that have been left-handed comments, but I have ignored them and always remained respectful to her. I don't like confrontation, but she is if you have a problem with me, say it to my face sort of person. We are really close right now, but I genuinely believe that if I had just a little more of a backbone, she would hate me. I know that makes me sound so insincere, but I just wanted to build a good relationship with her. She cannot take no for an answer, and I am so bad at saying no. I will say no to her a million times, and she does not give up. She will just do what she wants. My boyfriend and his mom are extremely close. His biological father left when he was around 3, and his mom remarried when he was 5. His stepdad, 56 male, is like a real father to him, and they get along very well. His mom and dad have a healthy relationship, and that makes me happy. His mom has pulled me aside multiple times throughout my visits to tell me that her son is her own in her life, even before her husband. She pulls me aside very often to make comments like that. She also often texts me about how sweet and amazing he is. He lives with his parents right now because he wants to save up to move in with me. He has lived apart from his parents for 2 years in the past in an apartment that was less than 5 minutes from their house. When he moved out, his mom cried uncontrollably for days. His mom and dad both constantly dote on him. When I'm visiting, they knock on his door several times a day to talk to us. When I am not there, they enter his room constantly without knocking when we are on a phone call together. It is more his mom than his dad, but it can be his dad sometimes. His mom will enter his room and sit on his bed and just listen to our conversation. She will complain that he does not spend time with her or eat with her anymore. Since I'm not there in person, he and his mom go out one-on-one together several times a week for meals. This does not bother me because I also like spending time with my mom, but for her to whine about him not doing it enough is concerning because, to me, it is more than enough already. Additionally to this, she is constantly texting and calling him while we are together. I only get to see him in person every so often, so it makes me sad when she calls him and they talk on the phone for a while, when they live together and get to see each other all of the time. He tells her everything that we do each day, all of our plans, sends pictures of our food, and their messages are filled with heart emojis. This did not bother me initially because I am glad he has a good relationship with her, but since then, so much has built up and caused me more concern for how involved she is in his life. I do not know how much he texts her when I am not there, but she calls him every day that he drives to work. She has convinced him that he is 6 tall and repeatedly comments on how tall he is. I don't want to burst his bubble because he genuinely believes that he is that tall, but he is probably more like 5'9". I don't care how tall he is perfect to me, but it's strange how his mom romanticizes his height. Every time I visit, at least once, she rubs his arms and goes on and on about how amazing and big his muscles are. She snuggles up against him when we are on the couch, and they always hug when we leave them to go to bed. Maybe this is normal. My parents are not very physically affectionate. I will say that he is independent. He works hard and can cook, clean, and do errands for himself. His mom does currently do his laundry and help with the cleaning and cooking sometimes. But he does help out, and I know he is capable of doing these chores on his own if she wasn't around. For the majority of our relationship, every time I would visit, we would eat just about every dinner with his parents, take his mom out for lunch at least once, and spend the evening watching movies or just talking to them. If we did something alone, when we got back home, he would knock on their bedroom door and go into their room and talk to them for at least 30 minutes. I know that doesn't sound long, but that time adds up when you only see your partner for a bit every few months. When he visits me, we sometimes do not eat a single meal with my family at all because I want to spend as much alone time with him as possible. If I said anything about not wanting to spend so much time with his parents, he would get sad and tell me they miss me as much as he misses me when I am gone. We have gone on several trips out of town with his family where we would spend every waking moment with them. For our 3-year anniversary, we went on a 7-day cruise with his parents. After about 2 days, I asked him if we could just do one thing together alone without them. He reluctantly agreed, and we planned to go get a late-night snack. When the time finally came, his mom asked if she could join us because her husband wanted to gamble that night. My boyfriend said yes, and I was visibly annoyed, which caused him to be annoyed with me. He told me that my behavior was unbelievable. After we ate with his mom and parted ways with her, I expressed my annoyance to my boyfriend. He threw a fit and stormed off to sit somewhere on his own. For the rest of the trip, he gave me the cold shoulder. I could not wait to get off that boat and go home. We had a serious talk after this, and since then, I spend a good bit less time with them during my visits. Now, if I am there for a week, we usually only spend about 2-3 dinners with them, but still spend a lot of time in their room or his room talking. Since we have decreased the time we spent with them, his mother has increasingly gotten more passive-aggressive towards me. She makes left-handed comments about my appearance and qualities, and then she tells me, "You can get away with saying anything if you say it with a smile." They are too minor to truly address or complain about, but it makes me feel insecure. My greatest concern came during my most recent visit. It truly gave me a reality check. We went out to dinner with his parents, and his mom tells me that we need to have a serious talk. I assume it is about them moving to my state, and they want to make sure that I'm truly serious about being with their son. Instead, they brought up my older brother. My older brother has extreme social anxiety and sometimes does not properly greet my boyfriend when he visits. I am not close with my older brother, and I do not spend much time with him. I warned my boyfriend about him before meeting him because my brother is rude to everyone and has acted the same to all of my past boyfriends. My boyfriend has taken it extremely personally and brings it up a lot. I've spoken to my brother in private about his behavior and hear out my boyfriend when he complains because I agree with him. My brother can be very rude. If I explain that it's because he is shy, my boyfriend says I'm giving my brother excuses and that my parents did not raise him right. At the dinner, his parents say that they are extremely concerned with my brother and how he treats my boyfriend. I'm a little shocked because I did not see it as a big deal since my brother is not a big part of my life. This conversation went on for a long time. They bashed my brother in the way my parents raised him. They said if my brother was rude when they were around, they would address it immediately and ask what his problem is. I think I must have been visibly scared because his dad began emphasizing that they did not hate my brother, but were concerned as parents. My brother really has not done anything that bad to my boyfriend other than not greet him when he visits. They acted like my brother was going to be his biggest bully and they had to stand up for their son. I just feel like he is too old to have his parents so defensive and worried about something like this. I also feel like this will just start a huge fight between our families if they make a big scene about my brother. His mom tells me that I need to stand up for my boyfriend no matter what, because at the end of the day, he is all I will have left when my parents pass away. I feel slightly wronged because I have spoken to my brother about his behavior a few times, and so has my mom and other family members. I may have not stood up to him directly at the moment, but I am not comfortable around him, so it is hard. Once the conversation about that ended, his mom turned to me and began asking about my future plans. She does not look at my boyfriend at all, only to me. She asks about when we want to move out together, get married, have kids. I tell her I'm not sure if I want kids and I want to be financially stable, have a solid job, and marriage before doing that. She tells me that I should want to have kids now and live day by day instead of worrying about having an established plan. She tells me that my boyfriend's biological father did not want kids until they were established adults either, but she wanted kids, so she got pregnant. I thought this was crazy because they were married in their early 20s. He expressed he did not want kids yet, and she still purposely got pregnant. She often acts like a victim because my boyfriend's biological father left her, and my boyfriend constantly tells me he feels so sorry for her and that she's the strongest woman that he knows. She proceeds to tell me that she wants to be a young grandma and wants me to have children ASAP. She says that she does not want to look old in her pictures with her grandkid. She made the whole process of us having kids seem like it was all about her. Months ago, I had told her I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, if I had kids, and she told me that I should want to work and provide for myself, not rely on anyone. My boyfriend told me that I should not worry about being a stay-at-home mom because I can work while his mom takes care of our kids. I only want kids if me and my partner can afford for me to be a stay-at-home moment. I know that is a lot to ask for in this economy, but if that can't happen, then I simply will not plan on having kids. I am happy to work and I love my job, but if I do have kids, I would like to care for them at home until they are older. My boyfriend's mom is very against this idea. I think maybe because she wants to be the primary caregiver. But I don't really want such a hot-headed, short-tempered person raising my kids, as awful as that sounds. I don't even have kids yet, and I'm worried. His mother did multiple things on this trip that made me uncomfortable. I won't get into all of them. One thing was she took something I had just bought and did something with it that I had asked her not to. I did not express discomfort to her, but I spoke to my boyfriend in private afterward. It truly was not too big of a deal, but I wanted him to know that I didn't like it. He completely shut down and got defensive. We barely spoke for the rest of the day and went to bed mad at each other. My boyfriend and I have also been planning on going to a concert together once he moves here, and his mom has already invited herself to that. Since I have gotten home from my last trip, I have taken this concern very seriously and sat down and told my boyfriend how I truly feel about his moment. The first conversation, he did not understand why I was upset. Eventually, he saw how serious I was. I was brutally honest and told him I was considering pulling out of the relationship if things did not get better. He promised that he would do so much better and apologize for everything. He assured me that he would set boundary and do anything he had to. I told him I could not know for sure if that was possible before they moved here, so I was still doubtful about continuing the relationship. His solution was that he would move to my state first without them. He brings up this idea to his mom while they are out having dinner one as they do quite often. She says it has always been the three of them, her husband, and her son, so that she would have to follow within 2-3 months after he moved if he moved here alone. She also asked him, what if I want to move there? As in, she would move there with or without his permission as soon as she wants. The conversation did not go anywhere past this. He did not tell his mom, no, we will need more time than 2-3 months, or say it cannot just be the three of us forever once I am an adult and start my own family. Nothing. He did not even attempt to set a single boundary. He saw her get teary-eyed and could not do it. I don't want to separate him from his mother or force a wedge between their relationship, but I don't think she can let go, and he is too nice to set boundaries. And this conversation happened hours after I told him I would pull out of the relationship if he could not prove to me that he could set boundaries. I believe she will resent me for stealing her son from her or my boyfriend, and I will constantly be fighting about his mother. My heart tells me that that dinner is all I need to know about his ability to make boundaries. My biggest concern is that he cannot take any criticism about his mom. She has no boundaries, invites herself to everything, has an opinion about many personal things within our relationship, and it bothers me. I wish I could share every specific story about how she has acted, things she has said, but it would be a book. And that is considering that I only see her maybe 6-8 weeks of the year. Soon, it will be forever. Is it worth having the man of my dreams that comes in a package deal with his mother? I truly believe he will not be able to set up the boundary that I'm comfortable with. I am so happy with him, but I know I cannot be happy with her. I guess I already know my answer, but I'm so heartbroken and feel like a huge jerk. I wish I could accept and love his mother, but I am not sure that I can. Their relationship is far too close. She is unpleasant to be around. I don't want my future to be controlled by her. He says he can set boundaries and he's willing to do anything to stay with me, but their conversation about him moving on his own proved to me otherwise. Plus, it was only a month ago when he would not speak to me for an entire day because I expressed discomfort to him in private about something his mom did. He is planning to move here at the end of April, so I do not have much time to make my decision and put a halt to it. Maybe she does not sound that bad, but I am preparing for the worst already because I truly do not know what it will be like when we are no longer long distance. I do not want to regret having them uproot their lives and move across the country, only to end up wishing they were not here. I truly do not think I could ever find another boyfriend as loyal, thoughtful, and selfless as my boyfriend. He is my best friend and my whole life. But his relationship to his mother has caused me to feel like this may not be right. As I sit here, pen poised over paper, I can feel the weight of the past 15 years pressing down on me. It's a tale not of my own making, but one I've been thrust into, entangled in the complexities of familial obligation and reluctant responsibility. My husband's family, a discordant symphony of dysfunction, had always been a distant specter in our lives. We kept our distance a self-imposed exile from the toxicity that permeated their existence. My encounters with his mother were few and far between, a mere handful of awkward interactions that left me with a lingering sense of unease. Then, 2 years ago, the tenuous equilibrium we had maintained was shattered by a phone call from Adult Protective Services. His mother, frail and vulnerable, had been discovered in squalid conditions, her living situation a testament to neglect and apathy. Without hesitation, we made the fateful decision to take her in, to offer her sanctuary within the confines of our home. What followed can only be described as a descent into madness, a relentless onslaught of entitled demands and narcissistic tirades. Her meager income, derived from sporadic bouts of employment and supplemented by government assistance, was squandered on vices and indulgences, leaving little for the necessities of life. The acrid scent of cigarette smoke permeated our home, a constant reminder of her presence and her disregard for boundaries. Despite our best efforts to accommodate her, to provide for her needs, she remained obstinate and ungrateful, a permanent fixture of chaos and discord. Her aversion to cleanliness bordered on negligence, her personal hygiene a distant afterthought in the wake of her self-absorption. We became unwitting custodians of her mess, forced to navigate the minefield of her temperamental outbursts and childish tantrums. I recall one incident vividly, the absurdity of her reaction encapsulating the absurdity of our predicament. A trivial disagreement over a muffin, a petulant display of entitlement that served as a microcosm of her character. In her eyes, we were the architects of her suffering, the villains in a narrative of her own construction. Yet, amidst the chaos and frustration, there flickered a glimmer of hope, a meeting with a social worker, a tentative step towards liberation from the confines of our shared existence. Section 8 Housing, a lifeline extended to alleviate the burden we had shouldered for far too long. As I sat in that office listening to the bureaucratic minutiae of eligibility requirements and rental subsidies, a sense of righteous indignation welled within me. Her protestations, her objections to the notion of contributing towards her own well-being, rang hollow in the face of our generosity. Why shouldn't you have to pay something towards your own basic needs? I wanted to scream, to shake her from the stupor of her self-pity and entitlement, but I remained silent, a silent witness to the unfolding drama of her life. And so, the saga continues, a never-ending cycle of obligation and resentment. But perhaps, just perhaps, there lies a glimmer of redemption on the horizon, a chance for us to reclaim our lives and forge a new path forward. Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. Man, I gotta tell you about this crazy bus ride I had to school one morning. So, I'm a 17-year-old dude, just your regular high school student, right? I usually take the bus to get to school, and I've got this thing for music. Like, I can't go anywhere without my earbuds in and some sick beats playing. This one particular morning, I was vibing hard to some Drake tracks. You know, classics like Hotline Bling. That stuff's my jam. Now, the bus was pretty packed as usual. People were standing, looking for seats, and the whole shebang. I had a seat by the window, my sanctuary for the daily jam session. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and let Drake's beats take me away. But just as I was getting into the groove, I felt it, a stinging slap on the back of my ear. It was like someone had smacked me with a wet towel. I yelped, my brand new iPods tumbling to the floor. Man, I was pissed. Who's that, right? I turned around, and there she was, the ultimate Karen. You could spot her from a mile away with that "I want to speak to your manager now" haircut. She was waving her finger at me like I'd committed a crime. Karen, are you deaf? You should give me your seat. I deserve it. Now, normally I'm a pretty laid-back guy, but this lady had just crossed the line. I looked at her, eyebrows raised. Me. Excuse me? You want my seat? Karen. Yes. I need to sit down. Me. If you ask nicely, maybe I'd consider it. Especially because you're pregnant, but after that slap? No way. Karen's face turned as red as a tomato. I'm not pregnant, you little jerk. I know she wasn't pregnant, I just couldn't slap her, so I decided to hurt her in another way, so I smiled. She huffed and puffed, but instead of calming down, she decided to take another swing at me, literally. She went for another slap, but this time I was ready. I grabbed her hand midair and held it tight. Me. Listen, lady, if you try that again, I won't care if you're pregnant or not. I couldn't help but smirk a little. Karen was losing it, and it was honestly kind of entertaining. Karen, you little... Before she could finish her sentence, the bus came to a screeching halt. The driver, a no-nonsense type of guy, had clearly had enough of Karen's shenanigans. Bus driver. All right, that's it. You, lady, get off my bus. Karen was in shock. She probably didn't expect the bus driver to actually kick her out. She tried to argue, but the driver wasn't having any of it. He motioned for her to leave, and with one last glare at me, she stormed off the bus. The bus driver turned to me and gave me a nod. like a silent acknowledgement of the chaos that had just unfolded. I picked up my fallen iPods, checked if they were still working. Thankfully, they were, and settled back into my seat. The other passengers who'd been silently observing the whole drama went back to their own business. As the bus pulled away from the curb, I couldn't help but chuckle. I mean, who expects to see a fake pregnancy? Karen getting the boot from a bus, right? It was definitely a memorable start to my day. I'm a 20-year-old male, and I've started university, so I live in a different city in my girlfriend's apartment. My parents' house where I used to live I rarely visit because I just can't stand my mother's behavior. My mom has always been worried about me, but I never really worried about it until last summer when I got my first girlfriend and started living with her in her parents' house, more frequently than my own house. We spent the whole summer together at her parents' house until December when we both moved into the new apartment. My mom out of nowhere started arguing with me that I would not finish school, that I will stop training and lose all my muscles. I have the highest grade in my class and don't even study, and now she's worried about me passing. And I train almost every single day, and she keeps commenting that I look skinnier even though I haven't lost any weight. She even keeps telling me that I shouldn't have gone to the other city and stay home because my life would be easier, but I don't want easier. She has always done everything for me and never allowed me to clean, cook, or do other things. She always asks me useless questions, and with who and where I'm hanging out. She allows me to go wherever I want and has never grounded me. So I have freedom in that sense, but she just keeps terrorizing me. I have to lie, so she asks less questions. I love my mother, but she just does too much for me. Maybe I seem ungrateful, but I want to be independent. My girlfriend has taught me a lot how to cook, how to clean, and I'm making appointments without my mother. Now my mom calls me almost every day saying I need to speak to her, or she's worried and can't go to sleep, but when we call, she keeps asking the same dumb questions and I just hang up sometimes. She on multiple occasions tells me that my girlfriend doesn't love me because we don't act like she did with my dad, and she tells me my girlfriend is a spoiled brat and doesn't like my family because we aren't as rich as her, and every time I tell her it's not true, she keeps talking in her place. Like she knows my girlfriend. My girlfriend got mad at her and how she treats me and said she doesn't want to see my mom until she starts acting normal, which hurt a little bit because I love my mom, but I understand my girlfriend and I love my girlfriend even more. My mom keeps asking me for pictures of random stuff, for example, how my table looks, and if she doesn't get the pictures, she will be worried and can't fall asleep. She even calls me instead of texting because she thinks hackers are texting in my place. She has had surgery before and takes medications if that helps. But she will tell you all of her symptoms if you talk to her and won't even let you speak. She stalks the people I hang out with. She finds out everything about my girlfriend family and wants to meet them, but they aren't interested. I told this to my mom and she got angry and sad, acting like a victim and said she won't attend my wedding if she doesn't meet her parents. I'm not even planning on marrying soon. She wants me to do things her way, but I always decline and stand my ground. Next time she forgets that and starts asking me to do things her way again, no matter how many times I ask her. Most recent incident was when I told her I needed a table for my apartment, and she said she would buy it. I told her not to build it. I can do it myself. The next day she is smiling and shows me the table fully built and says I'm not that intelligent to build it myself. I got angry because now I have to move this table 7 floors, and I wanted to build it myself. My girlfriend told me I should stop being a wuss and just ignore her calls and not visit her until she finally understands I'm a grown man. I can't just cut her off like that. I don't have a job and my parents finance me. My girlfriend's parents also finance her. I can't be 100% independent until a few years later when I have a job and finish university. I always keep wondering if I'm a bad son. I hang up on her, ignore her, and she acts all sad wanting her son back, but I just want to be independent. Context. I live in the UK, and this happened when I was 18, fresh out of college in 2006. I used to work at a nightclub, and our uniform consisted of black trousers, pants, a black t-shirt with the nightclub's logo on the front, and the name in big, bold letters on the back, black shoes and socks, and a black fleece with a big logo on the back. Across from us was a superstore which opened up early in the morning, and I usually stopped by on my way for the morning shift to restock the 3 bars inside the nightclub for the upcoming night. Their uniform is similar to ours, and I often got stopped briefly because some people thought I was a staff before realizing their mistake, apologizing and then going off to find an actual member of staff, so I was used to it and often laughed about it with the other person if I saw them again. I would also help out anyone who was polite and asked for help. Now the story. I start my shifts at 11 a.m. and I usually stop by the superstore to pick up some lunch to eat during my 15-minute break at the nightclub. I get to the store, and as I'm walking through the store, I see the cleaner who I usually work with while stocking the bars and decide to go over and have a chat. As we walked around the store, I helped grab things off the top shelves for her, and she thanked me. My coworker is this really nice old lady, and I often called her Grams as a nickname. Now, Grams was a former martial arts instructor, but left a few years prior due to breaking her hip, but she still wasn't someone to mess with. I knew this from personally seeing her flip a guy 3 times her size on his butt because he was shoplifting at the superstore we were at. Everyone loved her. This is relevant later. So I say goodbye as it's now 10:30 and I don't want to be late. Grams apparently had the day off, so it would be the rare day I worked alone with the jerkhead of the nightclub and was not looking forward to it. As I was making my way to the sandwich aisle, I heard it, the dreaded sound of self-entitlement. I knew it well as I constantly dealt with this type and knew if I turned around it was all over, so I did the smart thing and ignored it, making my way towards the delicious smell of sandwiches. This, my friends, is mistake number 1. Entitled Old Woman. Excuse me. I feel a disturbance in the force and try to ignore it, but a sharp thwack to the back of my leg brings me around and I face the source of the disturbance I felt, and there before me was a troll, or so it looked like at first. Now, I don't like confrontation. I tend to try and avoid it if possible, and at that time the stress of work had steadily piles on me and I was currently on medication for anxiety. It was nowhere near as bad as it is now, but I still tried my best to stay out of these types of situations. But I was trapped. Me. Can I do something for you? She looked at me with an indignant smirk that immediately made me want to run away, but to my left was a rather tall, bulky, middle-aged man blocking my escape. As to my right was a display counter, as well as behind me. I was cornered. With a crap-eating grin on her face, the entitled old woman spoke to me in a condescending tone. Entitled old woman, I saw you help another lady earlier with her shopping. I would like you to go fetch this list for me. She thrust a small piece of paper at me with handwriting so bad I couldn't read it, and since I too had really bad handwriting that was saying something. Me. Oh, but I don't work here, I were. Entitled old woman. Don't lie, young man. I saw you helping that woman with all her shopping and you're in uniform there. I look at myself, and yes, I am in my uniform, but I'm wearing my fleece, which clearly has the nightclub's logo printed on the back, large enough you can't mistake it, even if you're legally blind. Me. No ma'am, you're mistaken. At the point, I get a shove from the bulky guy next to me. Dumb entitled son. Stop lying to my mother, you jerk, and go get our stuff. Me. But, sir, I'm not lying. Dumb entitled son. I don't want your excuses. I want my mother's shopping. This time he goes to grab me when a small, very recognizable hand grabs his wrist. Grams. Excuse me? But why are you harassing my grandson? I was shocked she actually called me her grandson, but was grateful for the save anyway. Dumb entitled son. What are you talking about, you senile old fool? This person is an employee, and you are lying to cover for him. This guy had just messed up big time. Grams was a nice person, really nice if you stayed on her good side, but crossed the line, pushed the wrong button, say the wrong thing, and you were done for. Grams twists the guy's arm behind his back and begins escorting him to the front of the store with his entitled mother and me in town. When we were 6 feet from where the security guards were stationed, he continued to call Grams every name under the sun. Dumb entitled son. Get the hell off me, you crazy old coon. I could physically hear Grams' patience snap. What happened next was not what his guy had been expecting. Grams, let him go. Dumb entitled son. Finally. I'm go. He never finished his sentence as Graham's small fist was now buried deep in the dumb jerk's stomach. Told you, not someone you should mess with. She then floored the guy, flipping him by his arm onto his back, then flipping him over onto his protruding stomach, before twisting his arms behind his back and hog-tying him with some rope she had just purchased, and to finish it off shoved an apple in the guy's mouth. Grams then looked to the now not-so-entitled old lady. Grams, you and your pig-headed son can take a hike, and if I ever see you here or messing with my darling grandson again, just know I am prepared to go to jail. I was stunned. The security guards were stunned. Workers and shoppers who had come to see what all the commotion was about were stunned. My Grams called over 2 workers, Asked them to pick the guy up, and I kid you not, she pulled over an empty shopping cart and had them put the guy in it, then shoved him out the door to the horror and dismay of the not-so-entitled old lady, who ran after him. Not surprisingly, the police were called. I was late to work after giving a statement, and Grams was issued with a fine and had court a month later. But due to her age, was only given another fine which she paid and 250 hours of unpaid community service. When I asked her later why she did all that just for me, her response was something I still tear up about. Grams, because you remind me of my late son who I never really got to spend time with, and maybe it's because seeing him in you, I just wanted to spoil you a little. I love you like a son, so don't ever lose that kindness of yours. Grams passed away a year later. I attended her funeral and even told this story when I was asked if there was anyone who wanted to say a few words. R.I.P. Grams, my #1 hero. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences, opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.